So we're three phases. So it's dream, forge, and finish. Now we're going to talk about forging. So forging, if you're not familiar, forging is the hard stuff, right? This is where we're going to start solving the obstacle, right? So in their case of crossing the river with a fast current and the troubles that the Mississippi River had, they had to start building deeper foundations, right? They had to go down, they had to stop and actually stop the water and dig deeper into the river bottom so they could actually pour concrete and build the stone and start building up deeper and stronger foundations. The other part that they came across is iron. So wood only has certain spans, but iron has certain characteristics, and it was not strong enough to build a bridge with the spans that they needed for the Mississippi River, right? Because of the boat traffic, couldn't span long enough. It would break and fall. And that's why they couldn't have all these different ribbings or basically all these foundations, is they had to keep the boat traffic going. So what they had to do is they had to learn how to forge iron into steel. So if you're not familiar, and guys, I am bringing down the process of how to make iron into steel, but just so we can understand and have this conversation. But the premise is you have to take this iron, you have to get it really hot, like really hot. So it's the stuff that, Terminator melts in, right? Ah! That wasn't in the notes, but I figured I'd throw that in there. All right. So this is what like molten iron to get to steel is the first thing you have to do. You have to throw some stuff in. We call those additives. What actually those things do is bring all the impurities up to the top and you scrape them off. And once you do that, you basically do some strengthening with carbon and oxygen and stuff like this. But you have to get it really hot, take out the impurities and add in the additives, right? They put in good things and you take out bad stuff. And it sounds so simple when you say it well. So let's put this into our terms, right? And the best way I could do that is kind of telling you my story. So when I got into real estate, and I talked about this in my monologues, but I got into real estate and we use the term solopreneur. I was doing everything, right? So I wore the marketing hat, I wore the money hat, I did the interviews, I did the construction, all these hats is what a solopreneur does. And it took me a little bit to get started because I didn't always have a partner or a friend or somebody always with me on this stuff, but I figured it out. But I was doing everything, which eventually started working, and it was fantastic until a personal thing happened, right? And in my case, it was my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and I was one of the caregivers there. And you think that you could handle this stuff, and I could, but I'll tell you what, it drains me personally. I was there. I was a very present and active son, but what happened was my business melted, right? My personal side took over and I wasn't there for my business, and it melted away. I wouldn't go back and change anything, but it's what happens. It's one of the pros and cons of being a solopreneur. With the loss of my dad, I went into this phase of just being down. I was broken and my business kind of melted away. I tried to go back to corporate America. It just didn't fit. I just didn't fit. And it took me a couple years until I kind of found the right people and maybe just time that I bumped into some people and I could be real estate even more, right? So if I thought buying one house was good, I could buy two, I could buy three, I could have crews. And we started working in volume. And I would speak and train and do all this stuff. And it was awesome until it wasn't. This is the phase that I went from doing, 10 rehabs a month. And then I started actually speaking and coaching people. And then part of that glutton phase is we were doing so well that eventually the company I was working with decided to change directions and I was no longer needed there. And I was lost. I mean, if we're being honest, I wasn't sure what to do. And it took some friends and people to kind of shake it off. But through some friends and interactions, I could say I went from lost to being found. Today, I get to be more me. People in real estate, these are my friends. Like I actively hang out with them and do business. And I love it. And I want you guys to be able to find that for yourselves as well. Like for me, my kids are growing up, but I'm still there to see them in the morning, go to all their sports games. I'm a more present father. I'm a more present husband. I have better and deeper friends now. Like all this, it wasn't easy, but it was like you learn how to do the work, right? You dig those deeper foundations. You become a stronger character, right? You take out the bad things, you add in the good things. And sometimes that's what we need is to understand this personal side, going through all those deaths and loss of businesses and whatnot. You could say, hey, you're a failure, just give up. Or that's the part that actually goes through the forging thing. And that's the part where you really develop this character, right? Your sense of self. And my question to you, as we're talking about this, is are you working on yourself? Are you beginning with the end in mind so you understand that you're building the right train? Are you going through these forging moments? Are you just trying to take the easy ticket? You can't get from the east to the west in our train example here, in our bridge example, without doing the hard stuff, right? That's digging those deeper foundations. That's making iron into steel so you are strong enough to do it.